Cool. Hello, welcome to episode 6 of Fish TV. I'm Phil Wilkes. This is Dr. Duncan Warning.
Hello.
And together we're the founders of 14Fish. Now, we're not going to lie to you, we haven't had any questions sent in this week, which is a bit sad, so please, do send stuff in for next episode. What we thought we'd do is cover something that is quite commonly misunderstood or people don't quite get it, and I've only recently got my head around it. And that's PDP, which stands for Personal Development Plan. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
You're right, and I incorrectly described it as Personal Development Portfolio back in episode 1. I don't know if you remember those
Easy
days.
mistake to make.
Yes. We were filming in black and white in those days.
Yeah.
So we're just going to do an overview of sort of what is the PDP. We've recently sort of changed it on our website. It doesn't look much different, but I'll explain to you what some of the things we're trying to do. But as Phil says, it's self-descriptive, really. Personal development plan. It's about me looking ahead, planning some of my development for the year ahead, and trying to be quite structured about it. It's useful if you're doing an appraisal as a doctor, as a nurse, as anyone, though, actually, as we'll illustrate later on when we look at your PDP, I believe. If you've been very kind to let the people at home...
I know, I've been using our excellent learning diary app, even though I'm not medical. And it's been quite useful, actually. And
a PDP is often looked at when doctors are revalidating. Actually, it's... certainly increasingly looked at and sort of judged almost as to the strength of the PDP as an indicator that as a doctor you're looking and sort of insightful into your development. So I thought it'd be helpful to go through the life cycle of a PDP.
Okay.
So you start when you're preparing for your PDP, you might jot down as an appraisee some ideas for sort of your PDP to discuss with your appraiser.
Okay.
Then you come to the appraisal itself.
And is that just like headlines?
That's exactly.
Things
well,
like,
it doesn't matter. You
improve.
can be as detailed as you want. But often it's just ideas, just as you say, headlines.
Okay.
Because then the idea is that actually you and your appraiser you'll have done your appraisal really, or certainly you'll have reviewed your supporting information, and then you say, right, let's look to the year ahead. You've got some ideas here, but actually you've talked about this, or I think there's some gaps here, and together the idea is you work on and you agree this PDP, and it becomes a sort of proposed PDP then and an agreed PDP at your appraisal.
Okay.
And so you then have something that's agreed, and as the year goes on, what we're trying to do is say that you can then update that. You can then sort of add updates as your learning events, if you like, if they relate to your development PDP entries.
Yep.
Should only probably be about 3 and 5, but of course that's not fixed. And we'll talk about the content of the entries in a minute. But as you go through, you can and then you review those, and then as the next appraisal, the idea is you review your PDP entries that you've agreed last year.
Yep.
You can either say, well, they're, I suppose, one of 3 statuses, really, if you like. Complete.
Should we put these down at the bottom?
We could do, yeah. I like it. How we do that, the magic of technology, probably.
Who knows? We'll figure it out.
They could either be completed, ongoing, or you've dropped them, if you like. You haven't achieved them, but there's a good reason why, because your priorities have shifted or other circumstances beyond your control, perhaps.
Sure.
We're trying to make, as I say, this sort of PDP, it's very much been, as I've seen it, a sort of almost a paper exercise that you have at one appraisal, you have your PDP, you agree with your appraiser, you have these 4 or 5 aims. It may be vaguely in the back of your mind as the year goes on, and then you come and you review it next year and you agree a new one. But what we're trying to do is make it so it's a bit more living as the year goes on, and you can update it, relate it to the different activities you do. Each PDP entry should be SMART.
What does that mean?
It's almost as if he's been briefed. S is specific, M is measurable, A is attainable, R is realistic and relevant, and T is time-bound. And we wondered if the best way to illustrate this might well be to use real-life examples. And Phil...
Oh, good idea.
Yes. Shall we look into the secret life of Phil Wilkes?
Okay. So,
development.
like I say, I've been using our amazing learning diary app on my phone. So I do a bit of cycling in my spare time.
A little.
So I've been trying to use my my learning diary to record, learning and PDP. It's not professional. Is it professional development? No, personal development.
Mm-mm.
So it doesn't matter. It's not.
Is it mistake at the maker?
About how I want to, things I want to do to improve that. So one entry I've got here is to get more flexible through my back. So I'm not very flexible because of all the cycling. Got really short hamstrings, all that sort of thing.
Oh.
And
should see a doctor about the nose.
It's something that I'd like to improve on. So I've identified a learning need.
Oh yeah, so this will go through the headings that we use. It's taken from the Strengthened Medical Appraisal structure. The headings for each PDP entry. So the learning need, which describes your sort of learning.
So this is that I need to become more flexible, as this will help me get a more aerodynamic position on my bike.
Therefore faster, presumably.
Yeah, that's the idea. Exactly. And then I've got an action to take, which is to do some stretching every day and do a bit of yoga, that sort of thing. I've got a target date of 1st of September.
Ooh, it's not very long from
quite
now.
soon. Well,
Yes.
maybe I'll change that.
Big on
It's called
those.
October.
Okay.
And how will I demonstrate that? I said I will be able to touch my toes on that date. So that's how I'm going to...
So that's how
demonstrate
you'll
that I've met
know
that.
that you've achieved it.
Yeah.
So shall we quickly run through that smart, see if it's
How
smart?
have I done?
So I think quite well, I would imagine. But let's go for specific. It is a very specific aim, isn't it? Rather than you just saying, I want to get faster at cycling.
Yeah.
You said, I want
I've
to...
identified a weakness.
Yes.
And then...
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor lad. Is it measurable? Well, is it measurable?
The touching the toes.
Oh, yes,
presumably.
sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I suppose, yes, you've been specific, and you're then measuring that specific aim. That's very good.
Thank you. It's attainable because I've seen other people touch their toes. So it's not impossible.
Yes.
And
Realistic?
I think it's realistic because I'm not that far away and I haven't got any, back problems or anything that would stop me doing it.
Yes, because you raised an interesting point when we were preparing for this. We did look up just to remind ourselves, of course, they're never far from our mind, but what these meant. And in fact, it's quite confusing. Is realistic and attainable the same, isn't it? But actually, it may be, as you say, this, I think you used quite a good example. Attainable, we know some people can touch their toes.
It's not impossible.
No, but is it realistic means, is it realistic for you? In fact, have you set a target that you don't have the 15 minutes every day to be able to practice this or something?
Sure, yeah.
And also, I think the R being unrelevant is quite useful, because actually, if we were if this was an appraisal for your 14Fish work, we might say that this is not actually
perhaps not
relevant, but you might argue what's good for the... But anyway, we're digressing. Time bound, and you've set a date for it, albeit it's quite a date that's not far off, but we adjusted that together, made it a bit more realistic perhaps. So that's a great example, isn't it? Whoops. Okay, so that's a great example of a smart PDP entry, I think.
Thank you.
Specific because you've actually got a very specific sort of learning target about trying to get faster, but actually doing that by being more flexible. It's measurable. You're going to see if you can touch your toes. You know it's attainable. You've seen people do it, but also you think it's realistic to dedicate that bit of time for yourself to try and achieve that. And you've done a time-bound goal, albeit one that we've slightly revised to hopefully make it a bit more realistic. Whether it's relevant, that depends on the context of perhaps the appraisal that we're looking at. Well, it depends. This may be, I may be your cycling coach, and then it would be extremely relevant. Yes. So hopefully that's useful as an illustration of a PDP. As always, if you've got any questions about this or comments, please comment down below. As Phil said, we're really keen to get questions. The whole format will become much more useful if we can make it real with your questions. So please do send us questions. We've also... It doesn't have to be questions just about education and appraisal just for us. We've got access to other experts we can use. We've had a HR human resources expert contacted us this week that we can draw on. So if you've got any practice related or hospital or health organisation HR questions, anything really, send us and we'll try and do our best to get you the answer.
Well, thank you, Duncan.
Thank you, Philip.
That was all very useful. And just before you go, don't forget to follow us on social media. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like us on Facebook, tweet us at FourteenFish, and follow us on Instagram. See you soon. Bye.
Goodbye.
Good. Didn't use the bell. Didn't say reflection.
Oh, that's so good.
So how far down are you?
Because
You'll just below.
I'm way down, baby.
Take it right up the wall, eh? I love it when we do this. It's my favourite time of the week.